provided that.
For Mr. Cooper, I'm sure he just may be in traffic. I apologize.
We contacted 6 groups, all of whom said that they would consider sending information. I told them that Friday was the deadline.
Thank you.
And so I just wanted you to know that I followed up on your and my conversation.
Ms. Whitehead told me that she had made quite a few phone calls. I think we have 6 total to consider. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney.
Sorry, I'm late.
You didn't just pass the school bus?
Only 1 or 2.
Good morning, everyone. The Hoover Board of Education is now called to order. If you choose to do so, please join me in a moment of silent prayer. Thank you.
Next, we everyone stand. Thank you. Recite our pledge of allegiance. Salute and pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have before you the agenda for today's board meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is adopted. At this time, we're going to, the main reason for our called board meeting this morning is to, our goal as a board is to hire a superintendent search firm. We presently have 6 under consideration, including AASB, who made a presentation to us on Monday night. Most of these firms are out-of-state firms and could not send a representative, but I have phone numbers and names of each one of the firm's contacts in case the board has any questions. We do have one gentleman with us today who has waited patiently. So, Dr. Felton, since you are our only presenter, we're going to let you go ahead and go first.
Thank you.
Sorry I made you wait.
Oh,
You blame me.
I've driven on 285 in Atlanta, so
Oh, well, Georgia 400 do better than that.
that's right. So I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. First thing I'd like to say is good morning. And I'd like to say that I appreciate the opportunity that Hoover City Schools is providing SLF Consulting to present their executive search services to them. I think it's important that I share with you something about me first before you make this most important decision that a school board makes in their tenure, the decision that will influence the lives of young people and the city of Hoover in the future. First of all, Simon Felton is the sole proprietor of SLF Consulting. I have 10 years of experience in the executive search firm. I've worked with national, regional, and local searchers. As an independent contractor, in the last 10 years, I've worked with two of the largest firms in the country, and you will find them listed in my resume. I've had the opportunity to support searches in the last year. I've supported searches in California, Florida, Iowa, Maryland, Mississippi, and North Carolina. In addition to that, I've had the opportunity to lead searches in Fairfield, Alabama, Leeds, Alabama, and Selma, Alabama. SLF Consulting is licensed and bonded. Our office is in Anniston, Alabama. As the sole proprietor of the company, I have an extensive background in education leadership. I've pretty much served in every administrative position in the school system that there is. I served as an assistant principal of a high school twice, middle school principal once, assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, deputy superintendent, interim superintendent. I ended my P through 12 career as superintendent of Anniston City Schools in Anniston, Alabama, where I was superintendent up until 2008. At the current time, I'm a university professor at an urban university in Atlanta, where I train people to assume those roles. So I understand the demand that this position has and the skill set that is required to be successful in this position. And I bring a rare blend of practical experience and research background to this task that is unique for an executive search firm. You will find that I will focus the educational attention to your executive search and provide insightful solutions. SLF Consulting, we lay a foundation for success. And that foundation for success is built on the experiences that I have gained in my professional career. In the packet, if you return to page 5, what I've outlined for you is the executive search process. The way I've built the executive search process is, first we built it with the pre-search elements and the search elements. Once we move into the search elements, we have identified 3 critical board meetings where things will happen related to the search. And we have taken those board meetings and classed them as pre-meeting, meeting, and post-meeting. And you will see the action items and the tasks that need to be accomplished during that time. During meeting 1, one of the most critical things we will do is we will establish desired leadership characteristics. We will establish a search calendar. We will establish the scope of the search. We will investigate compensation parameters, length of contract, all of those things that are important in securing candidates for you to interview. Moving into the meeting 2 stance, what you'll find is we'll be developing interview questions, developing the interview schedule, developing candidate daily schedule. In addition to that, you will find that we will ensure that when we secure candidates, that they are comfortable with the parameters we have established for this search to avoid any hiccups in the search at a later point. Moving into meeting 3 is where we will review the finalists, establish finalists, confirm interview dates, confirm interview schedule, review the interview protocol, establish selection timeline, and review the selection process. You will find My philosophy is that I will walk hand in hand with you through the search, that I will not secure the search and then pass it on to someone else, to an independent consultant to work. I will walk hand in hand with you through this process. We will establish the local community involvement and create schedules that accommodate that. From the local news, I found that you would like to have someone in place in June. So I've established a 5-month timeline for this opportunity, and you will note that on page 8. However, if we found that a tighter timeline is needed, we could develop a tighter timeline through a collaborative effort of the consultant and the board. For the executive search services that I've outlined, your investment will be $18,900. Please note that SLF Consultant will be responsible for all consultant travel, all meals, all lodging, and all office costs that are associated with this search. In addition to the investment of $18,900, Hoover City Schools will be responsible for advertising costs and the cost of the applicants' travel, meals, and lodging. So it's critical to understand that when we finish your search, you will not get an invoice from me for travel, or for meals, or for lodging. SLF Consulting believes in flat rate pricing, and your price is $18,900. And you will know the advertising costs because I will walk hand in hand with you. Once we establish what type of search you would like, whether a local search, a statewide search, or regional search, or national search, then at that point we will establish the advertising venue, and we will determine the cost. So you will know all of those things. The promise. I think when you do business, people should understand that you're going to do what you say that you're going to do. So I provide a promise. I promise to listen to the concerns, the suggestions, and the comments of the district. I promise to identify a candidate that has skills necessary to perform the duties of the position. I promise that if for any reason the candidate leaves within the first year, that I will come back and do the search with no investment for SLF Consultants' time. The district's only expense will be your responsibility for advertising costs and applicants' travel, meal, and lodging costs. Those are promises that I make and that I will keep. In addition to that, I will give you a 2-year promise that the person will not leave if, for 10% of the cost, which will allow us to come in, and I will do a 90-day transition with the person, and at the end of that 90-day transition, I will sit with the board and the individual, and we will establish first-year goals for that person. And at the end of that first year, I'll come back and we'll establish second-year goals. So that additional promise that is what will entail for the additional 10%. You will get a 2-year promise that if this person leaves, I will come in and do the search over. In addition, in the packet, you have a consulting contract for Mr. Sweeney to look over, and you have my resume. And at this time, I'd like to invite questions.
Are you still teaching in Georgia?
Yes. Yes.
I bet that's an experience.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
I felt community involvement is something we're very interested in. How does your search interact with the community and receive feedback from our stakeholders?
Well, that's one of the things that I will sit and talk with the board to determine how does the board want to receive feedback from the community. For example, we can post a survey on your website so that community people can go to your website, complete the survey, and compile those results. We can also have community meetings at local schools throughout the community so that we can do a SWOT analysis with the community as it relates to the search. A SWOT analysis would be an opportunity for people to talk about the strengths that they find in the system, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and I add another O, obstacles and threats. And by doing that, that will help the community identify what they believe, the skill set that is needed for the superintendent, for the position.
Do you have any other additional members on your team?
As an independent consultant, you must understand that I have a network of individuals that I interact with throughout the country. And so that I can touch base with them and bring them in as needed. Because in other words, if you look at my resume, you'll see that I've worked for 2 national firms that you perhaps have material from. So because I've left those firms, I have not left those associations. And most of those people who work for those national firms are independent consultants, as I was when I worked for them.
I think I saw your name on one of them.
Ray and Associates.
Yeah,
We've worked for 2 of them that are on our list.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you're a member of the National Association of Superintendent Searches?
I'm a member of AASA. I'm a member of AASA. I attend national meetings. If given the opportunity to work with Hoover City Schools, immediately what I will do is I will touch base with people throughout the country. The same thing that I did when I worked for that national firm.
So let me ask you a question. If we choose to hire Ray and Associates, you would work with them?
No,
But
No.
they've listed you in their proposal.
I understand.
It's a little confusing for me.
They've listed, I understand they've listed me in their proposal, but no. If you hire Ray and Associates, I'm not gonna work with them. I have launched, my goal was to launch my own executive search firm, and I have launched my own executive search firm. I no longer am associated with Ray and Associates.
Okay, so you indicated that Fairfield, Selma, and Leeds, you independently,
No, I was a part of those 2 national search firms that you see in there when I conducted the searches in Fairfield, Selma, and Leeds.
so how long have you been in business independently?
I've been in business independently since 2011. However, one of those national firms, I had signed a non-competition agreement. So I had to wait until the non-competition agreement expired before I could move into executive searches.
And how many searches have you done as an independent contractor?
I have not done any searches as an independent contractor.
Okay? So SLF Consulting, if chosen Hoover City Schools would be your very first search.
Exactly. Yes.
So,
You'll be my first search as SLF Consulting, but you are, you know, in 10 years, you definitely aren't my first search. I've conducted searches from the state of Washington to California to Florida to Michigan in connection with those two companies.
okay, any references? I didn't see any references in your packet.
Well, what I would like for you to do is, if you just call somebody.
Okay,
And that's, let me share with you, that's one of the things that you will find that I do when I'm conducting, when people give references are never gonna say, those references are never gonna say anything bad about the person. So what I do is, when I'm conducting employment searches, is I call people who they don't give me the name of. And see what those people have to say about it. So, what I would invite you to do is call people.
What those firms you've worked with, what duties did they task you with? Because, you know, a lot of times we have members on the team, they task folks with different
Sure.
portions of the search,
Sure.
or whatever process you're doing.
I did all aspects of the superintendent search. I've served as the lead consultant, I've presented to boards, I've taken care of the advertising effort, I've reviewed candidate files, I've made the final list of candidates. I did everything from A to Z with the search. And it's obvious that I'm capable of doing it because evidently a national company feels like I can do it because they listed me. They were willing to put their national reputation in my hand.
one thing I wanted to mention to you, just to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples here. If the board decides that New South is an important component of this search, their fee is $7,200. New South, as Auntie had indicated that we've done business with before, we felt like that we wanted to use, I guess, consider an outside to gather our stakeholders' information. So in all fairness to our presenter on Monday night, if your base fee is $18,900, the gentleman will need to add $7,200 to this total for a grand total of $26,100.
For what purpose?
If New South is important enough to this board,
The survey.
the survey
Oh.
component of it.
Well, as a university professor, I've created surveys. So if you desire to hire another company to create a survey, that's great. But as a university professor and a PhD from the University of Mississippi, I could definitely create a survey for you to upload to your website for people to use, and you would not have to incur that cost.
Assume though that the board would like to use that group because they know that embedded in your proposal or cost, would you be willing to remove the survey cost as you go forward with the search for Hoover?
If the board was inclined to use another entity to develop a survey, I would negotiate a reduction in cost to reflect that task not being part of my responsibility. Yes, Mrs. Swing. Yeah, I would.
And that's the decision that the board will have to make today, is if New South is important enough to the 5 board members for New South to be an important component of this search.
Yeah.
Okay? Are there any more questions for Dr. Felton? You're located in Anniston, Alabama, correct?
That's correct.
I was born there.
Great, great. Then you love Clinton like I do. That's why I haven't moved.
I call Montgomery home, but I was actually born in
Great,
Anniston Memorial Hospital.
great. I love Quintar, especially in the wintertime.
I can trust that. My mother's side of the family's from Delta. She was born in Roundaway. My cousin went to Delta State. She went to Ole Miss to get your PhD.
Okay. I went to
One time
Delta
in
State. I went to Delta State to get my bachelor's in English. That's right.
A lot of time in Clarksdale.
That's right.
That's where the state verdict was sealed.
That's right. That's right.
A lot of time in Delta.
Ms. Frazier, I'm appreciative that Dr. Felton would come over on such quick notice and make this presentation. And I would share with you that working with him at Fairfield, he was absolutely first rate. And it's my judgment that they were very happy with the services that he rendered. He was with another group, but he was an important part of that group. And the superintendent that they hired is still there, and Dr. Gonsolin has worked out superbly for Fairfield.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Sweeney. Any other questions for Dr. Felton? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Very much appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thanks,
You
sir.
too.
Madam President,
Yes.
that brings us up to a total of how many firms that have submitted or presented?
6.
That's 6 in all?
We're getting ready to go through them. Okay. Ms. White, would you keep I'm just gonna get you to repeat the running totals at the end of this as far as a fee is concerned, just to bring us back around. Okay, so just to confirm, SLL Consulting, Dr. Felton that just presented, a base before advertising costs, travel, meals, lodging, 18,900. Just to repeat, this would be his first search as an independent.
And also, Ms. Frazier, that travel and lodging would be just for the candidates that were brought in.
That is correct. As mentioned, he has, as far as searches in Alabama with other larger firms, Fairfield, Selma, and Leeds. And he's located in Anniston, Alabama, close by. Anything else, gentlemen, that we need to make a note of regarding the presentation that we just heard? If not, let's move to McPherson and Jacobson. If you'll pull out your information. They are located in Omaha, Nebraska. There is no representative here today. I made some notes on each one of these searches, and please feel free to add anything that you wish. They have been in business since 1991. They have done one search in Alabama. It was Selma City Schools in 2007, 2008.
And that's maybe possible that Dr. Felton participated in that.
I did read through it, and tried to study it. I don't see if they don't list consultants in our area. Did you find any?
Did not.
If you look at the states, I missed something. They also didn't appear to customize and understand, our Open Meetings Act. That could have been a little more detail from me, rather than say, we're not sure about what your state recognizes in the interview process, so just my opinion. If it hadn't been me, I think I would have customized this to understand what our code is.
Okay. Their fee, Ms. White, base fee is $17,000. Again, let me stress, just comparing apples to apples. If we choose to use New South, that is a $7,200 fee on top of the $17,000. And granted, like Mr. Sweeney pointed out, I feel certain that they would be willing to negotiate that base fee if we choose to use our own survey people.
They may, but in this case, as you'll find in others, there's no provision in there to do a survey.
Okay?
So there's nothing to back out of the fee, because there's nothing built in the fee.
So can we assume that 17,000 plus 72 would be 24,200?
Well, we can probably assume that if we want to utilize another consultant that does searches, just be prepared for that cost to be there.
Okay.
Yeah, is that fair?
No, that's what I was.
Price is one issue, but in the scheme of things here, you're gonna be plus or minus $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and based upon what we're looking for, that's probably chump change. I think we need to kind of drill down specifically to aspects of each one that are strong, well, as he's talking, as long as the SWOT analysis, what are the really strong suits and the weak suits for these individual firms relative to our needs, and kind of focus on those things particularly.
And the only reason why I made the comment as far as the search portion, I think that's regardless of the cost, that's an important component of what we're trying to do here.
It's a very important part, because that is the part that involves the public, as we all agree.
Yes, sir.
The advertising, let the public know the process, get them involved, the calls, yes, it's a very important part of it. I agree.
Just so the audience understands, all of these packets we have had, has been sent to us, full proposals. Dr. Felton is the only one that just sent a letter and said that he wanted to come and present to us, but everybody else we have full packets on. And we've had this information to research, go over this entire week, so I want you to understand that we're not flippantly going through this. We've had this information, all of us have. Dr. Felton's the only one that we received this morning. Anything else that we need to talk about, discuss regarding McPherson and Jacobson? I guess the main concern I have here is the fact that they've only done one search. That's Selma City Schools, and that was back in 2007, 2008, and their home office is located in Omaha, Nebraska. The fee's not something that I'm concerned with, because it's pretty much in line with all of them.
Ms. Frazier, I think they also have listed here, they did Leeds in September as well.
I'm sorry, I did miss that. You know what page of that, because I mean, I went through this with a fine-tooth comb.
That was on something that was presented to us at our board search training,
Okay.
and that could also be,
And I did not reference back to that, Mr. President.
Dr. Felton said he was a part of Lee's search as well, so
So
that
that may
would
have
be
been
with
the second
McPherson
one.
and Jacobson as
Okay.
well.
And that board search training took place when it was held by AASB.
Several weeks ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember when that was? You were in the audience, we were upstairs. Was it a month ago? Before the holidays.
Right. I have the recording of that on YouTube,
Okay.
so, but it was about 2 weeks ago.
The 17th of December. Anything else before we move to the next interested firm? Okay, let's look at Ray and Associates. Does everyone have Ray and Associates? I talked to Ryan Ray on the phone, very nice gentleman. They could not have a representative present today, but he gave me the name of Al Johnson, gave me a phone number for Mr. Johnson. He is out of Atlanta, and said he would be available for any questions that we had this morning. This firm has been in business since 1975. They are located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And they listed only one school district in Alabama that they have worked with in the past, and that was Tuscaloosa City Schools. Their fee, base fee, is $20,000. Again, minus the New South component.
I thought it was interesting on the cover sheet, they've got the corporate office in Cedar Rapids, but the Alabama office is in Anniston, yet the phone number, fax number are from both Iowa.
I noticed that also.
And I wonder if Aniston's office was Mr. Felton, since he lived in.
Probably so.
His resume shows post office box, right?
Al Johnson would be our lead contact person. Mr. Ray was very professional on the phone, and spoke very highly of Mr. Johnson. I believe Mr. Johnson's resume is in our packet, if I remember correctly. You want to know more about who would be heading up the search. Any other notations, anything anybody else wants to mention regarding Ray and Associates? And as mentioned, this is probably the third, actually, Dr. Felton didn't mention Tuscaloosa City Schools, so we can assume that he is involved in that one. Okay. But Dr. Felton is listed on our Ray and Associates packet, which sounds like he's not a part of anymore since he is newly independent. Anything else regarding Ray and Associates? Okay, let's move to BWP and Associates out of Libertyville, Illinois. Deborah Hill and Sandra Sims DeGraffenreid would be the two key individuals that would head up our search. I don't know if you all know Sandra Sims DeGraffenreid, but she is a retired executive director of AASB.
Related to the DeGraffenreid from Selma,
I do not know.
She is.
next state
She
senator?
was married.
Yes. Know the family.
Very sharp individual. She has been a part of AASB in my early years on the board. I assume she was before Sally Howard. Okay. They, BWP has done searches, several in Alabama, Scottsboro City Schools, Anniston City Schools, Hartselle City Schools, Decatur City Schools, Huntsville City Schools, Baldwin County Public Schools, and Mobile County Public Schools.
Sarah Lynn up there, I'm trying to find that here. Maybe Sarah Lynn or she's not here?
Not in this packet. Their base fee is $17,500. Again, I cannot say enough nice things about Sandra Sims DeGruffenreid. Very impressive. 7 searches within the state of Alabama. Mr. Sweeney, can you shed any light? Have you worked with BWP at all?
I haven't, but I do know that Sandra is a equity partner in BWP, and from my conversations with her about the Hoover search, she said she would be the person that would be in charge 100%,
Okay.
and she's in Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
From a time perspective, if not personal perspective, does that conflict with her lobbying duties, Nursing Home Search Association within the state?
I don't know that, Earl. I don't know to what extent she does that.
You know, that's one of the points I've tried to filter out on some of these, and that's who's working because they have to work and their reputation's tied to it, who's working whenever they can work. You know, and within that context, for me, it's who would have more skin in the game, who would be more devoted, bought into the process. Because essentially, everybody's doing basically the same thing. If you look at all the methodology, it's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. Everybody's done it so many times before. So you really, for me, the most important thing is who is going to be readily accessible, available, devoted, and who's just kind of doing this because it's their part-time job when they have.
Any other comments, questions, concerns regarding BWP and Associates?
Oh, just one thing real quick.
Okay.
I think this was, the other thing for me is stakeholder input and balanced stakeholder input. And I did not see, I don't think here, this is the one, but they were really heavy up on the stakeholder input piece. So, I mean.
They were or were not?
Or not.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think they really mentioned it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they can't do it, I guess.
So I guess a positive for me for BWP is the number of searches that they have assisted with in Alabama, and just the fact that Sandra Sims DeGruffenreid is very well thought of in the state of Alabama.
Agree.
Anything else, BWP and Associates? The next one is Hazard Young Atia. As mentioned, this is the firm that we used back in 2007. They are located in Rosemont, Illinois.
I wasn't on the board at the time. What are your thoughts of that process?
Let me give this
Okay.
information first, and then I'll tell you what I think. They indicated they worked with Hoover City Schools back in 2007. They worked with Birmingham City Schools in 2010, and Dothan City Schools in 2011. Those are the only searches that they have assisted with in the state of Alabama.
Mr. Murphy, do you have a question? I had one.
Ms. Frazier
Let me
wants to
finish this.
speak.
and I'll let
that's
y'all
fine.
go.
Okay.
Their base fee is $24,500. However, because we would be a returning client, the fee is $22,500.
And I know you read that. Did you notice anything unusual about the verbiage on that one sentence?
There was something that was misspelled. And I
Well,
read this.
No, not that I'm being picky or cynical about this thing, but you got a high-profile search firm that's got 2 misspelled words in it. Spell check works most of the time. And returning word association. So,
The only thing that I will indicate with Hazard Young and Tia, and I hate to be repetitive, but the board at that time, it was important that we use an out-of-state firm. The majority of the board felt strongly about that. As I mentioned to you back in 2007, 28,000 plus. I guess, Miss Auntie, that's after all of our advertising expenses.
I don't know if that was their fee that we paid it indirectly. I don't know if
Okay.
there were any other indirect costs that were paid at that time. I didn't research that piece of it. We can do that if it's important, but I don't, if you get the general idea.
We, at the time, the board only wanted 3 candidates. And as I mentioned to you, the week before, several days before the final vote, 1 candidate pulled out. So basically, we had 2 candidates, one of them being our interim superintendent, Mr. Craig. From a personal standpoint, I would not be in favor of using Hazard Young and Tia a second time. That's just my personal opinion.
Ms. Frazier, for what it's worth, they also, in 2009, April of 9 and October of 9, consulted searches for Mountain Brook City.
Where are you getting this information? Because it's not in their packet.
You got that from,
So do we have quite a bit of discrepancies from what
I
was
don't know if
given
that's
to
a
us?
discrepancy, it's just added information.
But they don't know we have that, is my point. And so why would you not put factual information? Here's 2 discrepancies already with packets. Do you not think they would want a list if they have worked in Mountain Brook, or if they've worked in Selma, or they've worked in Leeds, or whatever? Why would you not put that in your packet?
well, let's assume that whatever they put in their packet coming from their department is accurate versus, anything else. Not that I don't agree with it.
I mean, if you're trying to solicit a firm in Alabama, I would probably list all the firms I've worked with. And the only ones that they had listed is Hoover in 2007, Birmingham City in 2010, and Dothan in 2011.
Some of that may mean that they were a secondary source, and they may possibly want to be on the list their primary. You know, we don't know it. I want to be fair about it, but that's good information to have. We got a lot of great information from that training class, but I won't discount that at all as well.
You, Birmingham used them before, but yet they chose to use AASB the last go-round, isn't that correct? Why would they not use them again? Dothan just lost their superintendent, is that correct? There's some controversy there with Dothan superintendent, I believe it's Dothan.
Look, last year?
In the last 3 months.
Last year, so that's it.
Not saying that that's their fault, but something went haywire if they placed that superintendent in Birmingham.
Within 2 or 3 years.
Ms. White, are they most expensive thus far? Okay.
on Hazard Young again, if you look at their flow chart, they don't address stakeholder input at all. They mentioned it somewhere back in the narrative, but as a formal piece of it, and the formal piece of it, it's not even highlighted in the flow chart. I noticed that too. But I did like one piece of it here, community engagement and confidentiality concern. Pretty good
notice the last several pages, I love the way they broke down by year, 2000, all the way back to 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, and they listed the number of students. In other words, in 2014, they listed all of the schools that had 0 to 5,000 students, and then they had a different category that had 5,000 to 10,000 students, the next category 10,000 to 25,000 students, and the last category being 25,000 plus students. And they did that for the last several years. So that kind of gives you an idea. The majority of the searches that they have done are not in our student population number, if that matters, which it shouldn't. Most of the searches are in smaller districts with less than 10,000 students. Any other comments, questions, concerns about HYA, Hazard Young Atia? Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's, all the 5 new ones, new firms that we've heard from this week, thanks to the press for advertising. Back to Alabama Association of School Boards. We'll finish up with the one that presented to us, Susan Salter, on Monday night. Just for comparing apples to apples. And I noticed in a lot of these, when I list a base fee, a lot of them indicated that there would be advertising fees, but they didn't list an advertising fee. AASB gave us a base of $12,000, and they gave us a set price for advertising, which was $2,000. We've already mentioned New South's component was $7,200. So with the New South component added in, we're at $21,200. I talked to Susan Salter this week and asked her, and this was before I got any of these packets, so I had no prices, no price quotes to go by. I called her and asked her, would she consider a discounted fee? She talked to Sally Howell, and they are willing to discount $1,500. So for comparing apples to apples, we're now at a base of $10,500 from $12,000 for AASB. Still have the $2,000 paid advertising, which we will have with all of these other firms, but they did not mention a price. With the New South component of $7,200, if the board chooses to take that route, we're at a grand total of $19,700 with AASB. Any questions, comments? Would y'all like to eliminate down to 3? Are you ready to take a vote?
Madam President, if there's no more questions or comments, I would like to make a motion on a particular firm. And if our fellow board members want to make an additional one, they can as well.
Okay.
What would you, it might be interesting to kind of go down the line and see who everybody's top 2 or 3 are and why. So there'd be some clarity as to lots of ground what it really ended up.
Okay. I'll start.
From the bottom up. Let's start with 3. and
I'm
go
gonna
on.
give you my top 2.
Let's go right.
I'm gonna give you my top 2, because I only have 2. My top 2 would be BWP and Associates, because of Sandra Sims DeGraff and Reed, and the fact that she would head up this search, and the fact that they have conducted 7 searches in Alabama. And their price, their base price of $17,500, without the New South component, if we choose to do the New South, very much in line with all the rest. And then AASB is my top pick, just for the simple fact they have done everything and then some. They want this business. They were very helpful to you, Mr. Cooper, in locating Dr. Reese. That was first and foremost for me. Their fee is the lowest by far, if that matters to the board. And they're more than willing to talk and work with New South. They've already contacted them to see if New South could work within our time frame. New South is willing to do that. We've used New South in the past, as Ms. Ante indicated. And I really did not expect a discounted price, to be honest with you. And she did not hesitate. So there's my top 2. Mr. Murphy.
Well, firstly, I want to thank Mr. Cooper and also Dan Fulton for bringing up the fact, kind of delay a tad bit to get some more proposals. But always due diligence and getting more feedback and understanding always helps and aids in any process and see who's out there. My top 2, same as President Frazier, is BWP and AASB. And it's most around understanding the dynamics of the state, understanding the dynamics of the southeastern region, and things of that nature. From the standpoint of AASB, like I made mention in Monday's meeting, they have always been truly impressive to me and reliable. So those are not necessarily the cost is important, as always, but what can they offer the board, and do they understand, state of Alabama, do they understand what Hoover needs and population and the importance of getting the obtaining feedback from all our stakeholders. So those are my 2 picks. Mr.
Presley.
My 2 are the same, BWP and AASB. And I will stick with the comments everybody else has made. AASB and BWP seeming much more involved, and BWP having 9 searches. I will say I was very interested in Ray and Associates because they had 2 local people, Dr. Felton being one, Dr. Major being the second. We found out today that Dr. Felton is not a part of it, so I'm concerned that Dr. Major may not be a part of it as well. So
We don't know. Mr. Cooper.
I had 3, I had BWP, Ray, and AASB. And Ray and Associates, if you look at the packet closely, they're very, very impressive in terms of their results and the in-depth search that they do. I don't like the accessibility piece of it, and that their primary interface would be in Atlanta, their primary office would be in Illinois. And so that leaves them, to me, without somebody viable to look at state candidates as a potential pool. BWP, Senator Brian Bradley Reed, has got a great reputation this is a national search, so I was kind of looking for something else. I mean, something a little more extension than just state recognition. I think we get that with ASB because they're affiliated, or a member of the National Affiliation of Superintendent Searches, and which is in association with the National School Board Association. And Susan Salter, I think, if I understood her the other day, has a leadership role in
She does.
those organizations, one of those organizations. Of course, accessibility has always been a cornerstone for anything you do with ASB. And their knowledge, I think, of potential state candidates, both incumbents and those who are not currently employed in the superintendent position, is unsurpassed just by virtue of what they do with the School Board Association in Alabama. Cost is okay, I mean, that's one thing, but when it comes down to me, you know, I can go online and order my pharmaceuticals from a mail order company and, you know, probably save $15 if I go to Rite Aid and talk to Bernard, because the relationship I've got with him, we've got a relationship with them, and that's good for me.
Mr. Kelly?
I agree with my fellow board members. AASB would be my number one choice. BWP certainly with Dr. Graffin Reed is a plus. I do feel like AASB, with the ties they understand, they're involved in lobbying in the legislature very actively. They understand the fit, hopefully, for a potential superintendent that can deal with no child left behind. One is part of that, and understand if the person they're contacting can deal with our diversity. Not to say Dr. Graffin Reed's firm could not do that. But being locally, and with my past experience with AASB, I have nothing but good things to say about them, so I'm going with experience and you guys' recommendation. That would be a number one.
Okay.
So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that the board employs AASB to be the search firm for the city of Hoover's next superintendent.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? AASB?
And Ms. Frazier, I think it's important somehow, somewhere, that we thank everybody who.
Yes.
I
gave us
plan to
proposals.
do that.
In
I'll
the
take
scheme of
care
it
of that.
all, for us, there's no losers, because we're gonna pick up bits of information and insight from everybody's proposal that will help us be more effective.
I will contact,
Agree.
every proposal that came through, I responded back, and every single one responded back to me. I invited them to the meeting today, and, but I'll take care of that. Be happy to. Okay, the only other thing that I have a contract. Most all of these, actually, Dr. Belton was the only one that had a physical contract. I have a contract with AASB. If there's no problems, I'll go ahead and sign. The only question that I have, 4 or 5 candidates for the final. When I talked to Susan Salter, she did not recommend 3 for the simple fact of what happened in 2007, and we ended up with 2 candidates. She said 4 might be a compromise, but she said most of the searches, she strongly encourages 5, but she will do whatever the board. She just feels like we're gonna have a lot of interested parties. It is more time consuming, gentlemen. It is very time consuming.
Well, let's defer to the counselor who has been involved in this for many years. Any opinion on the number of candidates?
Well, I'm really mindful of the burden it is on y'all, and I'd like to say 3, if it didn't put us at the risk that you mentioned. The same thing happened in Gardendale. One of the top candidates was hired by another firm, by another school district before the process ended, and so that reduced substantially the numbers. And as Susan Salter said, it is a competitive environment right now with other places, and so I think if y'all can tolerate the burden, I would recommend 5 too.
One thing that she did mention, Mr. Sweeney, is that they have several searches, there's several searches going on, and if we use Mountain Brook, which they're not, but if Mountain Brook or Vestavia, if we're involved in a search at the same time, it gets real competitive. Money, we'll say Mountain Brook's superintendent decides to leave, Mountain Brook finds out about it, they offer their present superintendent more money. Once everything gets started, so she just said you run a risk of losing people along the way. And, that's the reason she felt strongly about 5, but it is time consuming.
Let me see if I can articulate that succinctly. Talking about the saving effect.
Yes, I guess I am.
So if he gets ready to leave, we're gonna bump his contract and extend it.
I guess that's what I'm saying, Mr. Cooper.
Understand?
So are we good with 5?
I think so.
So, yeah, you got 5, you may get down to 3.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, I will sign this contract and we'll get this back to AASB. The only other thing regarding the superintendent's search, Susan Salter sent me a list. She said this is gonna speed the process up. We literally will start this next week, okay? Possible questions pertaining to the search. She said that she wanted each board member needs a copy of this. Louise, I'll put you a copy of the number we're gonna hire. Each board member will take a copy of this and get back. You get back to me or you get back to Susan Salter, we've just gotta get this to her as soon as possible. We get to Louise, however y'all wanna handle this.
Let's copy everybody, so everybody see what everybody's thinking.
Okay, okay,
Madam President.
yes.
And I apologize for not doing this. Dr. Reese, I feel we have done a lot in this time we've been up here. What are your thoughts on, I know you wasn't involved with the enterprise, but I don't know how the board feels. I would like for you to definitely feel involved in this process as well. Is that fair?
No, it's,
I'm very impressed with the way you have handled this, the board, the way y'all have gone about this. And I think you're doing the right thing, in my opinion. You're asking my opinion, and I'll give it. I think I agree with Mr. Sweeney that 5 is the appropriate number. It might be time consuming, but it'll be worth it in the long run. And if one or two drop off along the way, you've still got 3 or 4. But I've just been extremely impressed with the way the school board, you have gone about it, and I would especially commend Ms. Fraser for the way she's handled the situation. You have done a tremendous job in the way you have gone about handling this, Ms. Fraser, and I would commend all of the school board members the way y'all have gone about discussing the matter and the way you've handled it. And I really don't think, I haven't observed many school boards in the past, but I doubt there are many who have been so conscious and aware of the process like y'all have been in going, and the way I look at it, I think the way y'all will proceed the next few months will be a great plus for this school system in choosing the next superintendent. So I commend all of you for that.
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr. Reese.
Reese's phrase is so appropriate. Every one of y'all have rescheduled things, unscrambled your agendas to make this a priority, worked hard at night to look over these. Y'all are so dedicated, and I hope all of us appreciate what Dr. Reese has said and appreciate what y'all are doing.
Just to confirm our price, $10,005 is their base fee, $2,000 advertising. New South's component, we are moving forward with New South, correct? Okay. $7,200 grand total of $19,700. That is the contract that I will be signing with AASB.
That's right.
Okay? Louise, I'll sign this and you return this to me. Okay, that is all we have on a superintendent search. Let me bring up one thing before I mention our last portion. Mr. Singer mentioned Monday night at the board meeting that there are several conflicts with the city council meeting. I asked Ms. White if she would contact the council, get their schedule, and I don't want a conflict with the city council. That's not, we're a team, we work together, and I think it's important that our meetings are scheduled on a different Monday than the council. So gentlemen, I'm proposing a change in all of our meeting dates, February through June. Ms. White, I think you said there was a conflict on every single board meeting from February to June, correct? Basically, we've been meeting on the first Monday of the month. We're going to move our board meeting to the second Monday of every month. The new dates, February the 9th, 2015, March the 9th, April 3rd, 13th, I'm sorry, April 13th. I can read. May the 11th, and June the 8th. It's a recommendation that I'm making to the board. Does anyone have a problem with this recommendation? Anyone?
Hope not.
Stephen?
I changed all my
I'm
schedule
so
this week
sorry.
to the second week for office meetings, but maybe I can get all that worked out.
We would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, it'll help free you up, because the city council meeting went from $900,000 to the emergency care center on 280. Tax cut.
Okay, I guess we're moving our meeting.
Yes,
Thank you, Ms. White, for your work on this. Okay, anything else, gentlemen? Dr. Reese? If not, the board has been presented with a certificate of compliance from Mr. Donald Sweeney requesting that we meet in executive session. Do I have a motion that we convene into executive session?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will now go into executive session. Mr. Sweeney, do you anticipate a time frame?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. And the time is 9:07.
12.
9:12?
No,
You got time to watch?
no, that's it.
Thank you for everyone being here this morning.